Hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Chris, and just a quick note before we get into the interview with Jarrett Wilbraham here. There are a heap of tech issues on my end. The recording software glitched out. We only got like a screenshot of the entire interview, which is a real shame. And on top of that, my audio levels were up and down throughout the whole thing. So these issues I'm going to have fixed next time. But I do want to apologise to Jarrett for the for all the tech issues on my end. I hope you still enjoy the interview. He's got a fantastic story to tell. But yeah, cheers. All right, my name is Chris Ferguson here for Punch Drunk MMA News, and today I have with me the Nowra, New South Wales native and 5-0 MMA professional. Sorry, Jarrett Wilbraham. Jarrett, how are you, sir?
I'm great, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me
No
on.
dramas, man. My pleasure. Now, I do want to get to your win at Eternal 63 in a moment, but something else struck me in the post-fight interview, and I want to get some more information on that if that's okay.
Sure.
Wait, you mentioned you'd be living in a van for about a year and a half on the Gold Coast. I'd love to get the story behind that, mate. That can't be easy living in a van, juggling work, a partner, and fight camps and fights and all the rest of that. How did that all happen? How did that all start?
Yeah, it's quite a long story, so I'll start back maybe two years ago or so. So I was training in Nowra, I think, for about like the first three and a half, 4 years of my career,
Yep.
and training with a bunch of guys, just small little gym out the back of a gymnastics hall. It was more of a dungeon. We just rock up, just have a good chat and train and fight, and we loved it. So, but from that point, what ended up happening was somebody lit our gym on fire, and it kicked up like asbestos dust, and the
Right.
levels were
Yep.
too high.
Yep.
Yeah. So the council, they tried shutting us down. It was a lot of chaos. I tried to get it back up and running, went in for meetings with the council, and they really just didn't want to, keep maintaining that building. I feel that they wanted us out of there. So we nearly got back in, and then they just made a list of things we had to fix with the place,
Yep.
and it was just too hard. So the gym ended up closing down, and I was left in limbo. So I was just training here and there, and a lot of time training in the garage and that sort of thing. But I just felt like time was getting away for me, and I'm 28 now. Uh, I've always wanted to try and make a career out of fighting, and I happened to run into my partner, who's my partner currently, but she was traveling through town and she built a caravan herself. She spent a year renovating it,
Yep.
and I met her as she was traveling through, and I ended up traveling with her for a while, and we really kind of like loved that life of traveling. But I also was conflicted because I always wanted to pursue this career in fighting, and
Yeah. Were you
she really,
sorry? Were you still training at
yeah,
that point? Were you training while you were traveling?
uh, like I was trying to train a lot myself,
Yep.
and it's just hard trying to train by yourself. I'm going in circles. I can't have that opinion from a coach's perspective on my technique, and um, I definitely needed a lot of like fine tuning with my technique at this point.
Yep.
So she lived in Mildura, which is 12 hours away from where I live. So while she went back there, I decided to go over to Thailand and train over there.
Yep.
And I spent nearly 2 months there, but the place was riddled with staff. And yeah,
Right. Is this so? I did read as well that you kind of got pressured into a fight over there in Thailand, a Muay Thai fight. Is that right?
yeah, that was a couple of years before that time. But yeah, I was over there, and like when I went, I paid for like the package where you get like a pad holder to hold pads for
Yep.
you every
Yep.
day. And he would just harass me every day. You fight, you fight, you good, you fight. And I was at the start, I was like, no, no, I'm not here to fight. I'm here to train. Like I had a fight coming up when I got back home, didn't want any injuries or anything like that.
Yep.
And every day, you fight, you fight. And then eventually I was like, okay, okay, I'll fight, but I'm not fighting a Thai. And he's like, no, no, you beat Thai, you beat Thai. I was like, no, no, I didn't want it. Anyways, I always have been prone to giving into peer pressure.
Yep. Yep.
And eventually I said, okay, like, let's take the fight. They teed it up and they were like, what weight? And I was thinking, oh, well, Thailand, you can sweat a lot. Like, I'll be able to sweat out a fair few kilos, maybe about 63 kilos or something like that.
Yeah.
And they were like, 63, okay. So agreed on that. So I decided to go and watch a couple of the fights, and I just noticed the size difference between the opponents. And I was like, no one's standing on scales here.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah.
scales
No,
that you're
it's
going to
it's not
weigh
it's not
in.
that well run, hey?
No. So I ended up eating as much food as I could in the next 2 weeks to just try and put on as much size as I could. And yeah, when I got there, um, well, the way they want Aussies to fight because all the Aussies over there will come and support one of their
Yep.
guys. So when I walked into this stadium, it was like I felt famous
It was going
almost.
off.
Everyone was yelling out to me, um, Aussie, Aussie, and all the rest of it. So, and then yeah, strapped up the hands, and then as soon as I seen my opponent, I was like, no, he's about 70, 73 or something. He's way bigger than me.
Yeah.
But I won the fight in the first round, and but it was like purely a fight for me of like not getting hospitalized. That was the goal for me, was to just get the fight over with and not end up in a
A Thai hospital.
Thai hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know anybody over there. Knew one girl at the gym. I said, I'll pay for your ticket if you come with me, make sure everything's all right. And yeah, I finished him in the first round.
Yeah,
I
fantastic.
didn't want to, they start to pick up that pace by the end, and I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, no,
So
you don't want him getting a roll on. All right, so I want to take it back to the van life and your partner Michaela for the moment. So you met her in Mildura while you're traveling to Queensland.
yeah, I met her in Nowra. She was traveling from Mildura on her way to
Ah,
Queensland.
okay, right. I see.
Yeah,
And she's a fitness instructor, I think I read. Is that right?
yeah. She's a fitness instructor. Yeah,
So does she get
which
involved in the training camps in helping you train at all, or weight cutting or anything like that?
oh, massive, massive part of it. Like, she's always there every class. She's always watching what we're doing. She's taking notes. You can almost say she's always giving me like feedback on the things that I need to improve. And it's crazy. The short period of time she's been around it, she really understands it,
Yeah.
which is great. And I try to teach her as much about, mixed martial arts as I can. But she's also a great pad holder. She already was a pad holder before I met her. So
Yeah.
between classes, she's holding pads for me, or we're doing jiu-jitsu techniques. Poor girl's getting put in DAS chokes left, right, and
Oh,
center, but
poor
she just
woman.
never complained once.
What a gem, mate. What an absolute gem.
Yeah, absolute gem.
Um,
And also with the weight cut, yeah, with the weight cut for the fight, she basically did help me with all of that. So she was getting the bath to the right temperature, keeping the hot water going in. We had hot towels in the dryer that were wet that she was keeping warm and wrapping me up like a
yeah.
mummy while I sweat it all out. So
So
yeah, she did all of
pretty
that.
fair to say she's pretty involved with it all.
Yeah, really involved.
Um, all right. So before you moved up to the Gold Coast, you were fighting in the Canberra-based Storm Damage promotion, and you became the bantamweight champion the night of your professional MMA debut by winning a Grand Prix tournament in which you fought twice in one night. Is that all correct? Have I got that right?
Yeah, yeah, that's
That
correct.
seems like a pretty hectic night for you, man. What was that experience like? Had you had any amateur MMA fights previously, or any sort of?
No, no, like when I started, it's so different where I am now, and like the reason I started, like I got into this purely to just fight. Like I just wanted to fight as soon as I could. I went to another gym, local gym, and asked them, I went in, I want to fight. They said, well, you got to train for at least 2 years. And I was like, that's not good enough for me. And then I got put onto this, my old coach, Troy Blacker, and he's just this tough, crazy dude who's just so smart at what he does. But he had a whole bunch of boys that would go up there and basically just punch on in this little cage that they had.
Pretty rough sparring
So the
sessions.
day
Yeah.
yeah, hard sparring session. So the day I walked in, I said to him straight away, and my brother as well, we both walked in. My brother's fought too. So I said to him, we want to fight. And he just took one look at me and he's like, how much do you not like yourself? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, because you got to not like yourself to do this sport. And yeah, I guess that statement comes truer and truer every day. But yeah, for me, it was basically just I wanted to go in, I wanted to fight. I seen there was a 4-man eliminator. I thought, awesome, I get to fight twice in one night. This is great. My mates can come and watch me. It was almost like it was a funny thing. They were going to come along, watch me fight. And we were, just doing what I love.
Yeah.
And
How
then,
old were you at this point?
oh, maybe like 23 or something like
Yeah,
that.
right. Yeah, okay.
I got into it fairly late. Like I'd only been training for 10 months at this point.
Yeah.
And we got told that like Luke Standing, the one of the guys in the Eliminator, he was definitely going to win. Like he's had massive career, he's really experienced, and he was a brown belt in jiu-jitsu and had all these amateur boxing fights as well. So that was the narrative. And then in my head, I'm like, I reckon I could beat him. But
That's the confidence you got to have going in, though, isn't
yeah,
it? Really?
yeah, but just quietly, I just believe that. I
Yeah.
didn't tell anyone apart from my brother
Yeah.
that. Um, and then went in, I won the first fight, and then that went the distance. And then he in the final, he kept taking me down, and he just was smothering me, not really hurting me or hitting me, but I was just like getting like escaping and getting taken down again. And then I just got really angry because I was at this point I just wanted it to be over. I just wanted to go and hang out and drink with my mates
Yeah,
and
for sure.
party. And I just said, I'm just going to take him down. My coach was like, yeah, take him down. And I pretty much like football tackled him across with a double leg across the cage and got on top of him, started landing strikes. He put me straight in an armbar because he had good jiu-jitsu, but I picked him up and slammed him a few times till I came out. And then I started landing ground and pound. He rolled over and I managed to sink in the rear naked choke.
Beautiful.
And I was blown away. I wasn't expecting it. But then
100%.
I guess that's the day that my life changed because everyone was like, no, you're good at this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, good at what? This sport of MMA. And then I got thrown into this world of weight cutting and strength and conditioning and nutrition and all the rest of it.
It's
But
awesome.
I love it. But yeah, it's not what I
Yeah,
expected to start
there's
off
a lot
with.
that goes along with it. And so that Luke Standing win as well, you reinforced that with a back-to-back wins again here against him. You knocked him out in the first round a couple months later after that fight, didn't you?
Yeah, he wanted a rematch, and rightfully so. He's been fighting for a long time. I've only been training for 10 months, and I decided I'd give him that rematch. I didn't have to. A lot of people. I think I'm the only Storm like damage champ that has fought on back-to-back shows.
Yeah,
They
right.
usually just hold the belt as long as they can, and I think a lot of people thought it was a fluke. So I wanted to go in there and prove him wrong, and it was much more of the same in the second fight. He tried to stand up with me, and I managed to land some heavy ground and pound to the point where I finished him
Beautiful.
in the first round.
Fantastic. I did notice you got a professional kickboxing win on the record as well. And on top of that, becoming the 2021 gold medalist for the Australian Open Wrestling Tournament. Is that all correct as well?
Yeah, so the kickboxing win was the one in Thailand.
Okay, I see. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. No.
and I entered into the Australian Open wrestling competition up in Queensland because I was struggling to get a fight, and I needed to do something. And I love wrestling. Like I've always wrestled with my original coach Troy Blacker back in Nowra,
Yep.
and yeah, there's just something about wrestling that I love. So I entered in that. Obviously, because of COVID, it wasn't everyone in Australia there. It was just people within Queensland.
Yep.
So if you think about it, it's really like the Queensland Open
Yeah.
rather
Yep.
than the Australian Open. But yeah, again, I've never been to anything like that. I walked in and all these guys warming up with their tights and stuff like that. It just felt so out of place. But I managed to win all my matches and took home the gold medal.
Yeah, it's
So
got to feel
I
pretty
was
good
happy.
taking that gold medal home, mate.
Yeah, the thing about that too, I promised my grandmother, she didn't have long to live. I promised her that I would go to the wrestling comp and win that gold medal, which was a big claim because I didn't know what I was in for, but I was pretty determined to win that the medal.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
100%.
her.
What drew you to martial arts in the beginning? Like, how did you get involved in MMA? I did read that you were bullied as a teen. Did that sort of spark something in you? Is that what kicked it all off?
Yeah, I had. I had a tough time growing up here in Nowra. It's a pretty rough place. Started in school, like problems over, like with a ex-girlfriend, which I ended up in some bad problems because of that. People coming after me for a while, and it was just one altercation after another, and by the end of it, it went on for like a 5 year stint, really, about
Jeez.
5 years since year 10 onwards.
Yep.
And I ended up, in the result of it, I ended up with like a broken jaw, broken orbital. I broke my nose twice, and it was just a shit time of my life, to be
Yep.
honest. And then from that, it was almost like I got a bad name for myself around town. So I'd just go out and people would want to try to take me on, especially when they seen, like, they'd probably heard about me and then they see me and I'm this tiny little scrawny dude.
Yep. Yeah.
So, and after a while, my brother and I, we got like ganged up on by a whole bunch of guys. And then I defended myself, and when the police came and pepper sprayed everybody, and then everyone ran away, but I was the one on my back getting like the shit kicked out of me, and I ended up getting arrested for it, and I ended up in front of a judge. And then I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, where's my life going? So I just decided to join martial arts, which my mum had always wanted me to do since a little kid.
Yep.
And then I met Troy Blacker, and he said, look, like, my old coach, he said, look, you may not cause all the trouble, but you can't put yourself in these bad places. What do you expect's going to happen? Like, what do you expect if you go to the pub and then leave the pub and go to the kebab shop? Like, what do you expect's going to happen there? Just drunk idiots.
Yep.
And I was like, you're right. And he just said, control the variables. So I just decided to start putting all my time into being in the gym, staying away from people that were going out, carrying on, being stupid. And I just never looked back.
And mate, well, now you're 5-0, fighting under the Eternal MMA banner, which a lot of people are saying is the best promotion in Australia. So, that's a pretty good story so far. What's it like working with Cam O'Neill and Ben Vickers? And what does fighting for Eternal? What does that do for your mixed martial arts career?
Oh, well, working with those guys, they're absolute legends. I know Cam pretty well because he comes into our gym every now and then. That's where I've met him. He trains in jiu-jitsu under Vince Perry, who's my current coach, and I get along with him. Like, I've helped him for the last couple of shows, like setting up the cage for Eternal. So I've been around it. I just haven't been able to get that match up. But being on that show, to me, it's just amazing. Like, what do you think? Like, you look at all the camera angles, the way they edit all the videos, the way they build up the fighters, the venue. They're just a pleasure to deal with.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, mate. I was there on the night, obviously, and I was really, really pleasantly surprised with how well that promotion's run. That was my first time at Eternal, and that caught me off guard, mate. So I think they're doing a fantastic job there. You did mention Vince Perry. What's it like training under Vince Perry and the whole team there at Puma?
Oh, it's been amazing, an absolute eye opener. I was like, I could always fight, I guess, with the aggression and that sort of thing, and like I had good base and good grappling skills under Troy, but then moving up to Puma, it's really Vince has really fine tuned all the key details, like not leaving myself open when I'm striking, how to strike properly, keep my head in the right place. The jiu-jitsu's next level. There's on the mats that you've got like 10 black belts. There's more brown belts and black belts than there are any other colored belt on the mat. So to get that experience and working with Vince, like Vince has been around. His MMA gym opened up in '94 and the UFC opened up in '93. So he's been there from the beginning, and he was like being a Jeet Kune Do gym, which was like Bruce Lee's art form. It just basically means anything that works. So taking all different styles from different martial arts and putting it together. So that's MMA before MMA was even around. So you can only imagine the depth of knowledge. Yeah, it's been great, and great fighters there. Working with so many guys getting in tough rounds. I train with like Chelsea Hackett. It's one of my main training partners, and such an awesome girl. And it's just we've built a really close relationship
Yep.
while I've been there. And Dom Aston as well, another tough guy. And there's just a whole bunch of other guys at the gym that turn up day to day that they may not fight, but they're really talented in what they do. They're there for the fighters and just all around good people.
Yeah, 100%. I want to move on to the fight at Eternal 63. Now, there were definitely some fun moments in that fight, especially from a viewer's perspective. I did notice a little Stockton slap that set up a head kick quite nicely. There's effective movement. There were stance switches in there that really caught me off guard. What I'm trying to say is, for a 5-0, you seem a little bit ahead of your own time, if you know what I mean. You seem more experienced than a 5-0 fighter.
Oh, that's the best compliment anyone's ever given me. That was my intention going into that fight. I really wanted to show where I am. I have to do a lot of catching up. Before I came up to Puma, I looked at all the guys ranked above me, and I said I'm not on their level. I need to get better.
Yeah.
So I've been training a year and a half, and I've been doing it full time. That's why the only way to do it was to move into the van, and so I wouldn't have to pay rent. And I've been training full time, and all these, there's lots of little details in there. If someone understands MMA and they go back and watch that fight, they can really see what's going on there. There's a process. It's not just crazy punching, although the punches did get crazy there, which I wasn't too happy about. But there's a lot going in, and I'm always getting reads on my opponent, how he's reacting, and then I'm going back and I'm deciding what I'm going to do next. What's my next move?
See, even the spinning kicks that you were throwing, they might technically be called a crazy sort of thing to throw, but they were all very well measured. Most of them were on point, and you came back to a pretty solid stance afterwards. It's not like there was you weren't going too crazy out there, so I don't think that you need to stress about that too much. There was obviously on the ground as well. I think you surprised a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people expected you to be the one taking Jamie down on the ground. You sort of dominated him there for a little bit. I did notice there was a conversation going on at one point as well. What was said there?
Yeah, he just in the midst of it just turned to me and he just said, "Geez, you're stronger than I thought." And then I said, "Yeah, you thought I was scrawny, didn't you?" Because at the weigh-ins, I was so like skinny. It's like my body just deflates itself when I go to weigh-ins. I just look so skinny. I was embarrassed to take my t-shirt off there. And then, once I hydrate on the night, I blow back up and I just look like I'm 2 frames bigger, I guess. He said, "Yeah, you did think I was skinny." And then he just proceeded. He started to say something like, "This is hard. This is hard." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Oh, he said there was no footage of you anywhere.
Yes.
And I was like, "Yeah." It's like, "Don't worry about that." He's like, "This is hard." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I haven't fought at this weight class before." And then I just said, "Well, you sound like you're giving up." And he was like, "No, I'm not giving up." And then that's when I just started throwing big elbows down at him, because he was starting to take my mind off what I was doing for a second.
Yeah.
I'm leaning in to hear what he's saying.
Yeah.
It was just a weird process, and I'm kind of glad that I went through it, because I understand the effect that it can have on the person that you're fighting. You see people talking in the UFC when you watch it, and you're like, "Oh, what a idiot," But then I'm like, "No, you don't understand what that's doing to the guy that you're talking to." It's hard to concentrate on fighting and hear a conversation and comprehend it at the same time.
Sure, 100%. So he obviously won that fight. He retired after the second round. What does that win do for you? What's next there? I know you've mentioned you're back at work, saving for the next fight camp. You're hoping to get on the Eternal card in March.
Yeah, I want to be back there on March. That's why I'm back at work trying to save up that money. And I think, a lot of people are taking notice of who I am now. And it was a good win over a high level grappler. He was a brown belt, and once I took him down, I said, you know what, I want to win this fight down here. Like,
Prove a point.
I want people to know that I can grapple. I'm not just a striker. Um, so if people want to take me down, which they will, like, it's also going to be tough night for him down there too.
It looked like a tough.
So
It looked like a tough job to even get you on the ground. I'm not sure. He got one takedown in the fight, I think, or did you reverse that?
yeah, he got me with a body lock, and then I realized, geez, I'm actually going to go down here.
Yeah.
So because he had the body lock, I overhooked his arm, and then I was able to set myself up in the position to sweep him and land back on top.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like he did a lot of things right in that fight, but I feel like I just counted them, and I have that. I like to be on top, and I like to think that I have a good base
Yeah.
where I'm hard to move, and I really like ground and pound. So I think my style works against some of these like jiu-jitsu specialist
Yeah.
guys.
So nothing's lined up as of yet for March. You don't have no pen to paper.
No pen. Well, I've told my coach he'll let Cam know, and then it's just about getting me an opponent from here on. Fingers crossed. Like, I just want to maybe fight like 3 times next year, as much as I can.
Yep.
Just one after another. Just keep the momentum going.
100%. And I know that you've mentioned as well that obviously the game plan is to make it to the UFC. I did see you went over to one championship with Reese McLaren to be in the corner for his fight there. Have you given much thought to promotions like One or Bellator or PFL? Are they something? Are they promotions that you'd go for, or is it UFC for bust or bust for you at this point?
For me, it's UFC. It was good to go over there with Reese and get a feel for one. Obviously, it was strange with the COVID situation, no crowds and stuff. So it was good to be in that environment and just to see what it's like, because hopefully that no one will be able to experience that again.
Mm.
But yeah, for me, I want to make a career out of it. I want to be able to make money doing what I love. Like at the moment, I'm doing the hard yards and I'm here laying bricks. This is my time off training, and I'm out there laying bricks in the sun and sweating just as much as I'm in the gym, except I'm doing it all day. I would be happy to go to another promotion, but for me, it's UFC. I want to get to the UFC, being the premier fight organization in the world. I want to fight the top guys. I want to be up there with the top guys.
Yeah.
Toughest fights for me are the best fights.
Just while I've got you here and we're speaking about the UFC, what's the prediction for this weekend? You got Font or Aldo?
Oh man, I'm impressed with Aldo's boxing lately. But then you've got Font as well. I think I'll have to go Aldo.
Yeah, look,
I'm hoping Aldo brings back the leg kicks.
100%, mate. I can't bring myself to go against Aldo, especially. He's been on some good form lately as well. So hopefully we're seeing a bit of a career resurgence. That'd be nice.
I think I'm more interested in the Brad Riddell and the
Rams and
what is his
yeah,
yeah.
Raphael
Raphael, is
Fiziev.
it?
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, mate.
They were both like, of the times I've been over to train at Tiger in Thailand, they were both the kickboxing coaches there. So I've got to train under both of those guys.
Mate, that fight is going to be absolute fireworks. I can't see it going to the decision. I don't think.
Oh, it's fight of the year for sure.
Really
I was telling Chelsea at the gym, I said, how good would that fight be before it was in the works? And when it came out, I was like, Dana, nice move, Dana. It's the money.
They should get you a job there doing that, mate. All right, so I think maybe one last question from me before I let you go. I know we've been here for what, nearly half an hour. Sorry, mate, I didn't mean to keep you so long. We were talking before about the weight cut and stuff to bantamweight. You do have a pretty big frame for the bantamweight division. I did see you working with the fight dietitian now. How has that changed the way you cut weight? And is the plan to stay at bantamweight for the foreseeable future, or is featherweight a move you'll be looking to make at one point?
Well, working with the fight dietitian actually makes this sport pleasant. Before, it was just starving myself. I was doing it all wrong. Like, when I tell people what I was eating, they wouldn't even believe me. It was so ridiculous. Like, I was just trying to starve myself. Every time I went in, I had no muscle. Felt weak. I was getting niggly little injuries in my shoulders and stuff like that. But what he told me I could eat, I just didn't believe him. I'm like, I can't eat that. I'm not going to make a weight. And then just the way that I made bantamweight, I'm the biggest I've ever been. I'm so much bigger than my previous fights, and I made it quite easily.
Yeah.
So I think bantamweight, it's got to be my true weight. I've always thought about going up, but like I'm 5'10.5", nearly 5'11", and I'm fighting at bantamweight. It's a massive advantage.
100%. I had a quick look at the UFC rankings to see who had a similar sort of height and reach, and Corey Sandhagen was up there, and Sean O'Malley, but that was about it in terms of
Yeah,
who would have a
yeah,
reach
that's it.
advantage on you. So that's always a nice advantage to have. And the fact, I mean, if the fight dietitian can get Dan Hooker down to 145, I'm sure 135 is no dramas for you. Isn't it,
Unbelievable,
mate?
isn't
It's
it?
just insane. All right. Anything you wanted to plug? Anything coming up? Anything you need to mention? Sponsors or anything like that before I let you go?
Well, I don't have any sponsors, and
Somebody
so
hook this
if anyone
man up.
hook this man up. Um, I just want to say I love your channel. Like, you're just so, like, as soon as news is out, it's there,
Hey, my
right
man.
there, and it's like it's channels like yours that actually keep me on Instagram.
Hey, sweet. Thank you very much
Like,
for that, dude. I appreciate it.
sometimes just that place gets so bad, but it's like channels like yours that keep it going. And VB's my favorite drink, so
Winner. Cheers, brother. All right. Thank you very kindly again for your time, mate. It's been a pleasure to have you on. All the best, and I hope we'll speak again soon.
you're the man, Chris. Thank
Cheers,
you.
mate. Thank you.
Cheers, brother.